Well, hello there, guys and girls. Welcome along to another Mikey Mega Mega tutorial. Today we're going to be learning all about head, neck, and shoulders. So, you lovely people at home, grab yourself some paper. I'm using my sketchbook here, but you can just get any old cheap printer paper if you like. Although, don't have one sheet of paper on the desk. Have lots of sheets of paper on top of each other, and it will give you a better surface to work on. I'm using super cheap mechanical Papermate disposable pencils because you can just break the tip off and it becomes sharp again, but any pencil will do. Here's an eraser in case I make mistakes. We call them rubbers in England, but I keep getting told all about that. And just try to follow along. Have a go at home. I couldn't encourage you more. Now, right now on the screen, up in the top corner, there's a link that just tells you we've done arms and shoulders before. And that's quite a useful bit to take a look at as well, because it's all linked together. And then hopefully squeezed in right now as well, I've just done a tutorial about the back. And we covered a bit of the back, shoulders, and back of the neck there. So it's all useful stuff. Now, first thing I'm going to do is, before we dive in and really get into the nitty gritty of getting the drawing down, we need to talk about what's going on in the neck in a very, very simple, quick design. And that is because there's lots of weird muscles and sort of zones which are indicated in anime through a series of lines or a series of shadows. But we need to know what is going on there and why that's happening whatsoever. So I'm really quickly just going to draw in a very brief overview of what's happening in the neck. And we're not going to worry about all the particular muscle groups. We're only going to worry about the ones that you tend to draw when you're drawing anime. So I'm going to draw probably a masculine neck in this example. Let's have our collarbone around about here. And I'll show you what's going on. Now, the main bit when you've got a head meeting the body is you've got a really big muscle that's on the side of the neck. And it comes all the way down to the front like this. And on the other side at this angle, probably like that. In fact, I'm drawing an incredibly hench character here. And these muscles are the sternocleidomastoids, apparently. I just had to look that up because that's quite a mouthful to say. So if you imagine you've got these big ropey bandy muscles, if you feel your own neck, you'll know that there's something going on there. Here's the main neck zone itself. And it meets down into this point where your collarbones are. So if you imagine off on one side up here, you've got a collarbone that comes away. Obviously, it meets into the rib cage. And off on the other side there, you're going to have these collarbones doing their own thing like that. And we often tend to draw this line in, maybe this line, and the tops of the collarbones as well in our anime and manga drawings. So that's kind of what these lines are indicating and what's going on. And all this shape at the back is actually part of the trapezius muscles that we talked about in the last back tutorial, or the traps. And in fact, because sternocleidomastoids is such a difficult word for these ones, I might just call these the sternos for the moment. So yeah, don't hate me if I'm not quite giving you the full Latin. And these guys as well, they don't fill the entire front area. There's a bit of a divot here for other muscle groups, but we're not going to worry too much about that as well. And then obviously, you've got your shoulder circles. They're usually in there, and they're usually around about there. So let's just have a quick look through the camera phone, make sure that's in focus. Better, make sure that's clear. Just to basically give you an idea of what's going on there. This is what's happening in the neck. But we're not drawing really buff guys at the moment. We're drawing female anime characters, and we don't need to make these necks so incredibly large. That's a strong difference you're always going to see. When you're drawing your female anime characters, you're probably going to find that they're of a slighter build, and where in a male character you might use lots of straight building blocks and straight guidelines, with female anime characters you get an opportunity to be a bit more curvy and smoother. Now, what we're also going to do in this tutorial is draw a head that's looking up. And this has been requested quite a lot, and I understand why. It's actually a very difficult position to draw in. It's not the most flattering thing in the world when you're designing your anime characters, and not many people do it. So this is really weird. What I'm doing at the moment is I'm just drawing a head at the moment, slight angle, slightly tilted up. Don't worry about this. We're just going to talk about where the neck connects. But whilst I'm doing this, I just want to say that if you look at a lot of anime and manga and other people's art designs, whenever a character is viewed from a low angle, where you should be seeing like the bottom of their chin, the underside going up, you'll notice that they often draw them so that the face is still facing straight on. And when a character is lying back and the face is still straight on, it means that their chin is somehow magically digging right down into their collarbone. And the reason they do this is because it's easier for somebody to draw a face that's level than it is to tilt everything back. It's a weird kind of cheat that goes on, and it looks fine until you start thinking about it. And the more you look at manga and anime, where characters should be looking up or you should be seeing them from a different angle, you notice that the face is drawn straight on almost every time. It drives me nuts. It doesn't look bad until you start noticing, but it's not really correct either. So what I wanted to do is just very quickly talk about a character that's looking slightly upward, not to an extreme extent, and we're going to talk about this neck. You'll notice that it joins in here at the back of the head where the base of the skull curve meets right back into everything, and then on the underside it's actually quite far back in. It's not just behind the chin. This line comes in from about halfway along this jawline distance. Now when leaning back, you're actually going to catch a little bit of the underside of the chin, just very slightly, and this is if you imagine a completely different plane. So I'm just going to put this into an area of shadow for the moment, and then you've got the main zone of the neck coming down. And if we're looking up at a bit of an angle, you might not see much of the traps from the back, the trapezoids, trapezius. So what we're going to do is, if you look up, the collarbone might become more pronounced. This is the line that might show you that you're just seeing over the edge, so to speak. So if we get another collarbone in there, if you imagine we've got a whole rib cage situation down here, and it means that the neckline is really just met up here before you actually have the collarbones flow into where we might have our shoulder circles. And remember, it can all still come back to these simple building blocks and other shapes that we've been doing. And in fact, I can probably show a link right on screen now to a really, really old tutorial, like a real old one, where we talk about building up characters from basic shapes. But let's not worry too much about that. So if I imagine an arm kind of just coming down off here under this character, and perhaps just a line to show this sterno just as it's coming up there. And you'll notice how it goes from the collarbone and it meets up just below and just behind the ear. So you don't need to, when you're drawing an anime, draw very many lines in, but you just need to draw particular ones and hopefully get them correct, just so that you understand what's going on there. Now, the main requested one is an anime face looking up, viewed from straight on. So this is some tough stuff, so let's have a go. I'm going to hopefully use this space down here, and we're going to go ahead and start with the head itself. Now, as usual, I like to start with a circle. Oh, I've really bunched that quite near all of this. Start with a large circle that is the top of the head, but much like we've had in our viewing characters from a low angled perspective, low angle foreshortening, link in the corner of the screen, we've talked about how the perspective and the foreshortening completely changes things. So this head, all of the face, is going to be squeezed up towards the top. And what it means as well is that we don't get this nice smooth chin point with a load of our characters. And this is what a lot of people drawing anime and manga cheat on. They still draw a point in, they still have the point at the bottom, and they just move the mouth really far up to make it look really strange. That's not what you're looking at. If you look at anybody in real life when they're looking up, that's not the view. So what I'm going to do is just get a center line straight in here. And I'm going to bring this center line all the way down through where the neck's going to be. And I'm going to start drawing in the side of the face as well. Now, as this side of the face gets drawn in, instead of this point going down somewhere around about here, this face is looking all the way up, which means it's not going to be flat because this face is looking all the way up. This jawline, we're going to see right underneath it, and we're actually going to see how the jaw goes up to the chin and back down to the other jawline. So I'm drawing a completely inverted version. Instead of going down for this shape, I'm actually going up like so. And because of the angle of everything, it means that the zone where the ears are, they're actually way further back. So I'm going to draw the ears, or at least a shape to indicate them, right down here on this character. And it means that all of the features and space for that is moved right up to the top. So instead of a center line where I might have the eyes, that's going to be right up here somewhere. If I just get a line up in there, I'm probably going to have the eyes around about here and here. And it means that the eyebrows are even further up there. So maybe right up to the top of the head, you're going to see something around about here. We'll turn these into characters later. And with the nose, it means that you're not looking at the nose straight on as a straight line. So in this example, you see the nose as a line, as a bit of definition that goes on. Whereas if you look at the bottom of the nose, we're going to be looking up the nostrils, and we actually treat that as more of a triangle shape. So that might well be something right up here, like so, before it goes off to actually meet the eyebrows and the shape of the face. And then the mouth as well, it's going to be much further, right up here perhaps somewhere. And let's have this character just, you know, having a little moment for themselves, like so. And then a little bit of lip line around about there. We're going to be filling this in and getting the idea across more. But what we're kind of expressing here is this upward angle. We have some nostrils around about here and here in this character, and it's not looking too anime-like at the moment, I appreciate. We're also probably going to show that the cheeks, instead of just being on the front of the face, they're now almost sort of a contour of their own. So we might have a bit of cheek shape here as well, just showing everything we're looking up at. So what does that mean for this whole neck zone? Now, obviously we're going to have the neck connecting from the jawline, so we're probably going to bring things in and down. And if I imagine I've got my shoulder level somewhere along here, we're going to firstly show two different planes. The first is under the jaw. This is an area that's going to be around about here, and it's for one part you rarely look at. It's the underside of your chin, and then this actually becomes the main part of the neck, the main trunk that comes down here, like so. Except we've got those sterno muscles coming in. So we're going to still have our lines that come down to around about where this, if you imagine a circle around here, the collarbone point, so to speak, we're going to have these muscles still come down here. So there'll be a line up here, I'm sure, a line coming up on this side as well, just to show the fact that these guys are still working, doing their job down on this side and this side, just like so. I'm just going to take out this line really quickly. That's a little bit too harsh for me. Make sure everything's still well in focus. Good, it is. And I hope you guys are still understanding what the hell is going on at home. So we've got this main area of the neck here. We've got the underside of the chin now shown here, which is probably going to end up being in some form of shadow. We've still got these lines that come up here to show the sterno muscles. And what we can also do is, again, get those collarbones in. And we'll probably give the shoulders a bit of height because this character's leaning back. So probably pulling back themselves. So if we just get some collarbones that come high off here, we can still have our shoulder circles, maybe one about here. And the collarbone just goes up to the top of that circle. So we'll have a very similar situation going on around about here. Collarbone comes in. And then the bits at the back of the traps, they're not tensed and pulled up. These are actually going to be a much lower, gentler, effeminate line, a much gentler curve. Just bringing everything together like so. So I hope that gives you an idea. It is a tough angle to get in, worth practicing, worth having correct, because if you ever want a really dramatic scene where a character's looking up, maybe they're seeing a beam of light from above, or they've just had an epiphany or an intricate moment where personally they've just sort of prayed away and understood something new in your storytelling, then you need to get that looking up situation right. I don't want to keep seeing, it's my own pet peeve, I don't want to keep seeing just these faces that still have pointy chins at the bottom and then they still just stick all the features at the top. It's just not accurate enough for my liking. But it doesn't have to be perfect. Have a go and play around with your own design. Work out what's best for you. Now, another thing you can always do is just show a little bit of shadow under the collarbone as well, just to show that it's not a whole lumped area. This is a particular bone that's sticking out the chest a little bit, pulling everything together. So that gives you an idea, hopefully, of how the neck attaches to the head. Gives you an idea of how to draw a head that's looking up and what's going on with the neck as well. And obviously, a really brief overview of the actual things behind the situation. So let's have a go of the character. We'll try to do a couple which will probably become a little bit more of a picture. And we'll talk about some variations with the shoulders and how they're set up. So I'm going to have to draw this character quite high up on this piece of paper because I want to focus on the arms doing two different things and how that affects the head and shoulders, if anything. So let's get a quick face shape in here. Just going to turn that into a point. Lovely little chin. And then up there like so. Excellent. And then I'm just going to very quickly indicate there'll probably be some eyes and ting there. And then if we have the neck come down off of here, the shoulders on this character will be over here. But I'm going to have the left arm as we're seeing it down and the right arm up. Now, if we still get a rough neck in as a guiding line, so we've probably got some ears on this character around about here. This neckline follows a very smooth arc down to about there. And when we tend to cross the neck and cross the shoulder lines, we know that the collarbones are probably going to meet somewhere just below there, somewhere around about this point here. It's a good indicator. Now, again, the neck on the right, it's not right up. It's not a really hench character with loads of muscles. We're going to pull that back and have that neck drop down around about here from inside the jaw. And if we get some shoulder circles in for the down arm, this is a really simple, understandable shape. We've got the shoulder here. You might not necessarily draw the whole line in, but we've got the collarbone that reaches from up around about and then goes down towards the middle. And we've got a very gentle curve on a female character, unlike how big it is with this male example. Very gentle curve for the back of the shoulders and the neck, the trapezius muscles, struggling with that word. And then maybe a little line here to indicate the collarbone shape some more. More importantly, this arm just going to disappear off down the side. Now, on this side, if I want the arm up, the first thing that's going to happen is that the muscles of the neck and the back are bunching up. They're tensed and they're pulling everything back up in this direction. Let's just make sure that's all nice and in focus. So I'm going to draw this shoulder circle further up in this example. See how I'm just getting this circle still about the same size, but right up here, ever so slightly elevated. And it means that the collarbone might not perfectly still follow this line. It's going to disappear into where the muscle bunches in around about here. So I'll still get the collarbone line in like so. And then this muscle on the back, the trapezius, is going to be much higher and much more bunched like that. And then we can just quickly pop back and talk about the sternos again. So I might have a line up from this point just about here, just indicating that muscle. And then on this side, I might just have it a little bit further. It's slightly tauter because it's doing a bit more hard work on this side with this arm coming up. So if I just get this arm coming up to about here, and then maybe it's just going to go back behind the head or something. So the arm's going to go like that. I'm just going to draw a circle to represent the joint of the elbow. And then remembering that the shoulder itself is a large part of the muscle, the arm tucks into it. Now again, don't forget, we've got the cards you can always check where I've done about arms and shoulders. So I'm just going to dive in really quickly and join this up without too much explanation as to what's happening on the underside. This forearm, or this muscle's going to come up here. Then the forearm's probably going to just shoot off like so behind the head. Excellent. The elbow's just off the page. And then I'm just going to get this line to come down in here to show how the shoulder muscle's pulling up and over. And then, of course, you've got the rest of the chest down here. So maybe this character, if they're going to be a little bit chesty, might just have boob coming off there. Something like so. Oh my goodness, I said a little bit. Very, very chesty. Edit. So we'll just have a boob off there and then something similar coming off there. But of course, more importantly, you've got your lats just peeking in there, pulling everything down, giving it all some more natural form and shape. So you see how this is now higher. It's more bunched up. This back of the neck muscle is squeezed in and bunched more. We've still got our lines in for the sternos, wait, what's it called? Sternocleidomastoids. I've got that on the screen, but I'm just looking at it. It's incredible. What a word. And then how more relaxed things are when the arms aren't doing quite such hard work, when they're just hanging down, doing their own thing, not bothering anybody. Sweet. So let's get one more example in. One more variation when it comes to learning about the head, neck, and shoulder area. And that's when a character is maybe leaning down. So if you imagine you put your hands on your desk, and you just lean forward and you put your weight on your arms, then what happens is your shoulders, they go up, so to speak, or instead your body hangs down from the shoulders. So we'll get kind of this idea in as well. Let's get another fairly large. We'll try to make a picture out of this one as well. Why not? We'll get a fairly large head in around about here. Get another circle going. Lovely jubbly. And then I'll have just slightly off center line. Just get a tiny bit of angle for this face. Like so. Might have to edit that a little bit, but that will do the trick for now. And again, let's have a line that drops straight down for the neck, but everything's going to be really bunched in. So in this example, if the neck is actually just our standard cylinder that comes down off around about there, and we've got what would be a shoulder line for a character here if they're standing relaxed, it means I'm actually going to put everything way above this. If this is all leaning on the shoulders and carrying weight, or really hunched up, if you bring your shoulders right up to your ears, then you know that you can get loads of movement here. So actually in this example, I'm going to start by having the chest area still around about here. It still hangs off, but the shoulder circles, I'm going to pop them right up here, way above the line. So on this side, if we go up, and then on this side, let's go up even more, just to give you a real sort of extreme view of this. Looks crazy, right? Incorrect. It will all come together, I promise. So let's go right back down. We've still got this point around about here, which is going to be the collarbone. And the collarbone lines are going to not go right to the top of the shoulder. They're going to go in. The shoulder itself is doing the rest of the work. On this side, because this is a bit lower, it is going to sort of reach a bit further in. And then at the back now, where we've got the back of the neck muscles, really bunched in, really hard, really high, coming straight in like that. And very similar, not quite to the same degree because this is a little bit lower, but in a very similar sense, you're really seeing these guys come into play, even with a female character when it's in this much of a position. So the arms themselves, obviously, are coming off down the shoulders in this example, and they're carrying all of the weight of our character. So remember, the outside edge of the shoulder curve goes a little bit longer as it meets into the arm, something like this. And all this area gets bunched in, and again, you get to play around ever so slightly, put in a line here, maybe just ever so slightly there, to represent the sternos, and then probably you've got the rest of everything all bunched up around about here, if anything. Probably going to be bunched around the arm there, probably going to then just squeeze into a bit of shape, as everything's bunched up because all the weight's forward, it's leaning deeply down on the shoulders and arms. Okay, so let's get that in. Probably going to be way more further out on this side. That in as well. And again, I hope that gives you a bit of an idea of what's going on. So let's have another quick last look through the camera phone. It's all kind of in focus. It hopefully makes sense to you lovely people at home. We've got the building blocks. What's going on in the neck? Really, really quickly. You've got the collarbones here and here. Everything is going to this point around about here. This is where everyone meets up. You've got the sternos coming down here, the big ropey neck muscles that create most of the lines that you'll see in a neck. And don't forget what's happening with the back muscles to create that profile, that shape. The neck itself with your female characters isn't overly thick. It meets up fairly thin, fairly far back. When you're drawing your characters looking up, get it right. Get that jawline showing an upward angle like it is in reality, and it'll get you slightly better anime and manga styles. Don't get trapped into only being able to draw pointy downward chins. Even though this is difficult, it's worth a practice. Don't forget what's going on the neck when that happens, and understand what happens with weight when it comes to a character pushing down, their shoulders carrying all of their body weight, leaning forward, or what happens when the arm's moving up or outward compared to when it's hanging down. Okie dokie everybody, deep breath. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. It's been a pleasure to get it out of the way, and obviously this has been requested a lot by you guys, so thank you very much. Don't forget to get into the comments below for your suggestions about what else you want to see in tutorials. I'm going to drop into some time-lapse and maybe draw a couple characters and just neaten this out a little bit, and I'll see you guys right at the end. Mikey Mega Mega, why teaching you drawing? Why? 'Cause he loves drawing. How through YouTube videos, wow. Click like on the video. Click subscribe on the channel if you want to draw real good. Thanks a lot everybody for watching this video. Hope you've enjoyed learning necks, collars and shoulders just as much as I've enjoyed teaching it. The time-lapse section is nearly up. Click like, click subscribe, and I'll see you guys real soon. Goodbye. And welcome back. There we have it. So when I was putting some characters onto these building blocks, I kind of got a little bit carried away over here and just really went into the hair. I'm not quite sure what I was up to, but it's not a hair tutorial. Hopefully it really helps you understand the shoulders, the collarbone, the neck, how it joins the head. This neck's a little bit long in retrospect. And also what's going on in the neck when you're sort of looking up, and how to kind of understand your anime character's face a bit when they're actually facing away. It's not the most flattering look, but it's an important one to kind of get under your wing really and make it part of your skill set. Well, I hope you guys have found this tutorial to be useful. If you have, do this guy a favour, give it a like and click on that subscribe button down there somewhere. Come join the channel and follow along for other tutorials and other things we've got going on in the future. Other than that, I hope you guys have a lovely weekend. Don't forget I'm always on Patreon, but there'll be a little bit blurb about that. And I hope you guys have excellent lives. Take care. Bye-bye. So yeah, a great big thank you to all of the supporters on Patreon. You guys are simply the best. And as for the rest of you, if you ever want to check out some of the SAS but with editor's commentary, extra artwork and thought processes and all the other rewards that are not quite safe for YouTube, you can click anywhere on the right of your screen. Take care. What the hell am I doing? Okay, cool.